Internet. Today I am doing a demonstration of creative ways of building music education applications. This is from a class that I took in 2003, and I'm finally YouTubing the demo. So I just want to read some of the things on this screen about these applications. So these are Java applets that can be integrated into online classes. So applet number 1 is a common dialog that would be launched at the beginning of the class to let the user configure their MIDI setup. And the user's preference should be preserved in a database so that you know for that user which MIDI in and out devices they like. And let's just take a look at it. So I'm going to test my Java MIDI setup. Okay, this is the first applet, so think of this as a control panel or an initial screen for a class. Now the first thing the user needs to do is select the MIDI in and out devices. So for MIDI input, they want to change it from the default of Java Sound Synthesizer to one of their MIDI devices. So in this case I'm using a MIDI Sport 2x2 interface connected to this piano keyboard. And then the MIDI out device, they could try using an output MIDI device, but Java, depending on the version, may not use it. It may just use the internal sound synthesizer. So I just tested MIDI out. Now I'm going to test MIDI in. And basically I'm going to place something on the keyboard and watch the display and see if it responds. Okay, that looks good. So I think we're ready to use the course. Okay, stop that. Now we'll go on to the next applet. Applet 2 would be a model for end-of-unit exams that would be required for students to prove mastery of each unit. In this example, the student must master performance of all 12 major scales before being allowed to learn about intervals. The results of each completed exam would be stored in a database. Web pages can then be built to report on student progress. This applet also demonstrates the use of audio feedback to enhance the user experience. The audio files with a .au extension were recorded with the Java Sound Capture Playback demonstration applet provided with a Java SDK at a bitrate of 11.025 kHz with 8-bit mono resolution. So let's take a look at applet number 2.
Please verify that your MIDI input is working before you take the test.
Okay, so it gave you some nice audio feedback when it started the test. So I know if I haven't looked at the screen, I know that I do have to verify my MIDI input. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, it looks like it's working. Now I'm going to begin the test. So listen to the audio feedback that the student gets.
Please play a D major scale. Oh yeah, give me more. Play a C major scale.
Okay, so it gives you a little fun message if you get it right. Now if you get a note wrong,
uh-oh.
If you get another note wrong,
did you hear that?
So it's picking a random phrase to say, and these are all just audio files that I recorded. So I'm just going to go through and get them all right.
Play it again, Sam.
Okay, so if I made a mistake on any note of a scale, I have to retry it. So I'm just going to go through it again.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to play them all because I want
play an E major scale.
I want you to see what happens at the end of the exam.
Excellent. Please play an F major scale. Groovy, baby. Please play an F sharp major scale. Excellent. Please play an A major scale. Hey, what was that? Hey, watch that note. Play it again, Sam. Excellent.
Okay, I'm going fast because I know what I'm doing.
Play an E flat major scale. Hey, what was that?
Okay, so I played 3 notes of the E flat major scale, so I'll continue from that point.
Play it again, Sam. Did you hear that? Hey, what was that? Did you hear that? Play it again, Sam.
So we try to frustrate the kids as much as possible. And they could play in any octave.
You're doing great. Keep it up. Please play an A flat major scale.
You think kids like that feedback?
Oh yeah, give me more. Please play a C sharp major scale. You got it. Please play a B major scale. Did you hear that?
Whoops.
Play it again, Sam. Oh yeah, give me more. Please play a G major scale. Excellent. Please play a B flat major scale. Oh yeah, give me more. Congratulations, you passed this test, but you need to practice a little bit more.
Okay, so it gives a different feedback message depending on the results of the test. So I got a 66. How nice. I didn't fail. Let's go to the next applet. Okay, now applet 3 is a demonstration of a discovery module which enables the student to explore a topic interactively in an experimental setting. It illustrates the flexibility of providing the student with parameters to control the presentation of the material. It also shows how student control of MIDI parameters, such as the instrument dialogue, can enhance the user experience and add more dimensions of exploration. It also illustrates the use of MIDI sound effects, such as applause, as feedback for the user. So this is an ear training exercise. So this is an ear training unit where the student has to listen to notes and figure out what interval is being played. And up here is an instrument drop-down dialog. So the default for playing the music is a piano, which sounds like that. But for this demo, say I want to change it to a harpsichord. I just go down and find it. Or a vibraphone. Let's do a vibraphone. Okay. So these are the default parameters. We're going to start on a C, and the notes are going to go up, and the two notes are going to be played individually, one after another. So let's listen to that interval again. Okay, I need a hint. I'm not sure exactly what those notes are, and it's a C and a G sharp. So now I can take a guess. Let's see, that would be an augmented fifth. And submit my answer. Okay, so that's the MIDI applause, which sounds crappy, but it works for students as feedback. Now, let's try another one. Now, what if the kid just doesn't really care? He says, oh yeah, that's a perfect fifth. Bum ba da bum. That's the incorrect answer, and they could keep making all the mistakes they want until they realize that that's boring. They'll just keep getting the same feedback. And that, look at this invalid interval name, minor fourth. So they're learning a little bit. So they could get a hint, and they could also say, I give up. So that's the bird MIDI sound, like their chicken. Okay. So what else can we do with this thing? Let's start on a different note. And let's change the instrument. How about a glockenspiel? What is a glockenspiel? Okay. And let's try playing the notes going down instead of up. That didn't work. Okay. Let's try playing the two notes as a chord. That's a minor fourth. How about a perfect fourth? Nope. Hint. E and an A sharp. Okay, what is that? That's a diminished fourth, maybe? I give up. Augmented fourth. Interesting. Going down, you have to reverse. Yeah. Okay. So that's a demonstration of ear training. So this is just a prototype of possibilities for MIDI feedback combined with audio feedback, and flexible control of the students' parameters so they could explore themselves. So back in 1989, computer programmers were able to get away with binary gender and have pictures to show it, as well as nuclear family as the default. But here's the MIDI. So that was level 3, this is level 2, and the next one is level 1. So what kind of reward does your 2-year-old get? So if your 1989 Apple didn't have a Passport MIDI interface, this is the game that you played.
Let's talk about Wiki and independent music and what is your deal? Why are you so in love with the whole Wiki thing?
I'm in love with you, Jim. I'm in love with you and your. It's
Caroline is Caroline. He doesn't mean it. Caroline is here.
And Esther, if you're tuned in, it's really not like that. No, so this model is amazing. And so talking with Katie last night, the reporter from the Anchorage Press, I said to her, I said, this concept could be gigantic. And she looks at me with this kind of knowing gleam in her eye. She says, oh, yeah, it totally could. And I guess it's just fascinating to see how the community is growing. I mean, if you watch Wikipedia, for example, that's huge. And it's a more or less very reliable source of information. Like, the idea that 1 million monkeys and 1 million typewriters are actually going to create something really good as opposed to just sort of random chaos. And so, when I discovered Whole Wheat Radio, I had no idea what it was. And lo and behold, I already had 1,000 listens and a bunch of fans. And it was like, okay, wow, here's something. And it's something where a lot of people can put in a minimal amount of effort and still get something really amazing out of it. So I figure there's a huge future for this wiki model. And I guess I'm just wondering what, that might be and how all of us can sort of get involved and, gather more wheat heads into the fold. Thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So is that a question for me? How can we...
I don't even know if it's that, because I guess I'm more curious just to kind of hear from you and hear from folks who are signed in, kind of what's next? Like, you just moved up to a bigger server in Florida.
Right.
So you can deal with the bandwidth.
Right. And by the way, last night was excellent. And thank you to Dognut, who is listening right now from Columbus, Ohio. Guy grew up 2 houses away from me. We hadn't seen each other in 25 years, probably 30 years. We reconnected because he does computer stuff. We reconnected through the computer, and he now, from where he's located in Connecticut, he helps run the system. I'm up here in Alaska. It's just amazing. We still haven't seen each other. I mean, that will happen. But
and I'm the third wheel on the Columbus, Ohio thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is. Anyway, and it's funny because that is the kind of connection that ends up, these weird connections that end up on the internet. A lot of people have made...
You have weird connections on the internet?
Yeah, weird connections through the wiki on the internet.
Yeah.
I think that the thing, and we've recently been going through, I'll call it growing pains, partly because of the new server, because we now have all this available horsepower, and it's like, what are we going to do with it? And Web 2.0 is the latest catchphrase. It's social networking sites, Facebooks and MySpaces and Twitter and you name it. And there's now 58 million Web 2.0 sites. Facebook is a great example. Facebook really hasn't hit the musical scene quite yet, but they are on their way. You will probably end up with a Facebook site.
Well, I have a Facebook page, and I just recently added I Like to it.
Okay.
And I Like is connected to iTunes. And so the thing is, if anyone who is on I Like has ever played your stuff in iTunes, those songs, not the songs themselves, just the titles, will actually show up. So when I hit my I Like page, there were all sorts of random bootlegs and stuff that came from specific CDs that I only gave to specific people. And they're on their computers, and they checked the little option that allowed I Like to scan their iTunes.
What is so funny is, for those of you listening would know, that's exactly Last FM, their plug-in that we run through Winamp. Same exact thing, only this is basically through iTunes. I think, so one of the things that I'm seeing is there's so many Web 2.0 sites and opportunities, and there's going to be even more with Facebook, this plug-in, that plug-in, stuff like that. You can get inundated, and overwhelmed. And somewhere there has to be a deeper connection. And I think that's what Whole Wheat Radio and the Wiki can, it's one thing that it can provide.
Especially because, and that's what she was also saying last night, is because it actually provides an experience, a live experience. You can show up to a cabin concert.
Right.
You feel like you're part of an active community that shows up someplace. There's a pilgrimage site.
There you go. Pilgrimage site. That's good. We'll quote you on that. The other thing, and we've been going through this recently with these growing pains, is, and I remember very much, I used to work at Wendy's.
Okay.
Columbus, Ohio, in the corporate
Gotta love Dave.
thing. Yeah. I work with cash register systems. I was a computer geek. Now, this everybody's
Hard
going,
to
oh,
believe.
God, here he goes. He's going to tell you another one of his stupid grandpa stories.
Your age.
That's right. I was a computer geek, but I was designing a system, working a system that people in the stores who, you order the burger from, they've got to figure out how to run the thing.
Sure.
But I figured I knew better than they did how to design all this and program and everything. We put in the first cash register, and everybody, they couldn't run it. It was just like, oh, my God, how do we do this? How do we do this? And what, it wasn't Dave Thomas, but it was somebody who was reported to him, said was, Jim, you didn't get the operational people to get any skin in the game.
That's right.
They are not invested in this cash register system.
That's
He
right.
said the design is absolutely fine.
That's right.
But they don't feel like they had any input.
That's
They
exactly
couldn't
right.
control it. So
Exactly right.
they're just not going to jump in and
Exactly
play
right.
your game.
Sure.
The original Whole Wheat Radio system was not a wiki. Wiki didn't exist at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I controlled basically all the content.
Mm-hmm.
Not only was that too much time and effort and work, my entire life from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night was on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Other people couldn't really add to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it, to me, is so, one of the things that is so wonderful about Wiki is everybody can get skin in the game.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
gets invested. And
Yeah.
what happens, I've seen this repeatedly on Whole Wheat Radio, is the people that get invested by, let me edit a page, let me add an artist bio, let me upload a picture, let me figure out, once you can get over that initial fear.
Which is actually a fairly small little learning steep.
No, it's that I can't answer.
Okay,
To me, it's
sure.
a fair.
Sure,
I'm
sure,
like,
sure.
gee,
Okay.
this is obvious.
Yeah.
To some people, it is a major stumbling block, and I'm not quite sure how to bridge that. I'm not sure. Well, we're doing a good job of that. That's another way people get invested, is people that understand how to make edits on Wiki, how to upload, are in the chat telling other people,
how to do it. Yeah.
I think at the end, even though Wiki is not as easy as a lot of other systems, I think at the end there will be so many people that have skin in the game, and they'll go, oh, I helped contribute to that
That's
site.
right.
Of course I want to see it succeed and do well and
Exactly.
grow.
Well, look at your donations so far. You're coming up on $40,000 that have been donated to Whole Wheat
Oh,
Radio.
my God. Really?
That's- Yeah.
Where is it?
It's on.
Oh, it's all on that website.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, what's your vision? What's next? What's going to keep happening with Whole Wheat?
Well, all right, I'm going to ask you a question. I think. Let me make sure we're done with the skin in the game scenario. Oh, I think that's one of the keys when you look at Wikipedia. The thing that blows me away about Wikipedia, and one of the reasons we are running the exact same software, they are highly customized, but I did that on purpose because I wanted the translation. Hey, if you learn how
Right.
to edit a page on Whole Wheat Radio, you are now a Wikipedia editor. You are capable.
There you
And
go.
the reverse. Everybody on Wikipedia, if for some reason Wikipedia put a notice at the top of Wikipedia saying, Are you all aware there is now a wiki
You
of
would have-
independence? I would have,
you would have bandwidth
5,000
issues.
editors coming over going, oh, let me add a bio and let me do this, let me do that. And they would love it.
I bet they would.
Yeah.
I bet they'd put it up.
So that was a specific, that was done on purpose. What's next? I'm going to ask you a question, and this gets into independent singer-songwriter stuff. What if you got an email that said, Randall, are you aware that you have a page on Whole Wheat Radio and you can fill in your bio and you can fill in all that kind of stuff, and we want to make you aware there's going to be a little checkbox that says, we're Whole Wheat Radio, here's the music we play of yours that you've sent us. Are you aware and do you understand and do you agree that we do not pay you any airtime royalties? In other words, you are not going to get anything. We're not going to send a check to BMI, to ASCAP, to CSAC, to Sound Exchange, or to the RIAA.
I'd agree in a heartbeat.
Okay.
In a heartbeat.
Because?
Because the building community aspect is the thing which we're all looking for. And the building community aspect is what allows us to have sustainable careers. That was Katie's question last night, too, from the press. She says, what's the deal? She says, Whole Wheat's airing this stuff for free. People can get it for free. I said, yeah, but they buy into the community. And it's a different deal from people who rip your CDs and hand it to somebody else because there's no buy-in. And even that I don't mind so much, frankly. So, I've had folks tell me, sure, I rip your CDs and gave them to all my friends. That's actually fine with me because what happens is those folks will come back to you at some point and they'll be a part of your community. They'll be in your team. And now folks who are on Wikipedia, it's just like a radio station. I don't get royalties from most terrestrial radio. I get it from satellite, but...
What organization pays you through satellite?
Sound Exchange.
Is that right?
Pays through satellite, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know. Are you aware that Sound Exchange says you do not have the right to allow me to play your music royalty-free?
I did not know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally have the right to allow you to play my music royalty-free.
No, you don't.
Wow.
No, you don't.
Guess we're having a little civil disobedience here.
Exactly. And that is my point.
Fight the power, Mr. Claus.
Exactly. I can sit here and say, no, you don't, and that's what Sound Exchange says. And actually, it doesn't really matter because it's not been tested in the court. But can you imagine? I send out 5,000 emails to all my artists and say, guess what this Sound Exchange is saying? You don't have the right to allow us to play your music. Sound Exchange maintains that they control all rights to all music on the web. Period. Does not matter. I swear. I know. You think I'm making it up? We've got it documented where they've said it.
I just find it fascinating that they think they can.
Exactly. So
they probably won't let me sell it off or stream it off my website either, would they?
Not without paying them.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's still not
See,
happening.
you have to pay.
Oh, that's the crux of the RIAA thing, right? Yeah.
Well, that's RIAA, and this is Sound Exchange as well. What it is we've got a new medium going. Everybody's scared to death because CD sales are dropping. And oh my God, we got to get a piece of this pie. So
well, not everybody's scared to death. It's the big corporate it's the big corporate money machine who's scared to death. Indie artists aren't scared to death of what's happening. Not at all.
Good. What's happened then, the RIAAs and the Sound Exchange are saying, yeah, we don't have to worry about those indie people anyway. Mm-hmm. We're just going to say we control the rights to everything on the internet.
Sure.
Here's what that does is, and we pay BMI. We don't pay the other organizations right now. It's very likely that if ASCAP, CSAC, Sound Exchange came to us and said, and RIAA, we don't play any of their music, but if they said, you have to pay royalties, it would probably put us out of business. Mm-hmm. Now, is that good for you?
No, of course not.
No, of course not. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for anybody.
No, I agree.
That you ask, what is next for Whole Wheat Radio? Deep breath, slowly but surely. I think it's time for the artists to stand up to these organizations and say, we realize you are supporting us, and that's fine, but you cannot take away our rights to determine who can air our music royalty-free if we so choose.
Yeah.
And the reason that's so important is because the internet is a new medium.
Right.
In the past, you wouldn't have had that show. I mean, there were big radio stations, and it would have made sense. But now you're talking to a little guy, not just me, but there are...
Terrestrial radio is going the way of the dodo anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've got WiMAX and all that kind of stuff. Jim just walked away from the microphone, so that means I have total executive power right now. This is very exciting. I think he just grabbed a CD. It might be Esther's. Jim grabbed Esther's CD.
Jim grabbed Esther's CD because she's aware of this this whole issue, as am I. And again, we're not going to save the world with the issue, but I do think it's important because if every small webcaster or potential small webcaster knew that there were a group of artists who have given permission. Can you imagine a clearinghouse now where you and keep naming and Eric Balke and Esther Golden and Larry Zarella, all of you were in this clearinghouse where you had said, if you are a small webcast or non-commercial webcast, everybody in this organization has given you the right to play our music. Esther wrote on her CD, as copyright holder of the compositions and sound recordings on all tracks except numbers 1, 4, and 6, permission is hereby granted for broadcast, terrestrial, web, or satellite, or live performance of this material royalty-free as long as Esther Golden is credited or linked as the artist and writer. More info at.
Fascinating.
Right there, she has said, Jim,
fascinating.
You can play this CD, and every other small webcaster out there can play it and get the word out about her. Again, the thing that I think we need to clear up with the performing rights organizations, which would be BMI and ASCAP and CSAC, and those people who feel that they control the digital distribution, play rights, which would be Sound Exchange on the internet, is they need to say, we accept that.
And you know what would happen is you'd get Brian Austin Whitney and Derek Sievers and Micah Solomon and a couple of the folks who were just real connected around to just drop folks a little email or something, get behind it. And all of a sudden you'd have a community of 100,000 artists who were on this, cleared list, and we could have the CDs sent out, next week.
Wow.
So I guess the question is
that's a dream.
So then, well, that would happen though. I can totally see that happening. Because you've got folks who are that well connected. I mean, between, there are a couple of connectors who are probably connected to, let's say, a few 100,000 independent artists.
Right.
And granted, the earning potential of those few 100,000 independent artists in this decade probably don't even start to stand up to a Mariah Carey.
Exactly. So do you think that could happen without the performing rights organizations and or Sound Exchange saying, oh, no, we're taking this to court?
Well, no. Because what would happen is as soon as you did that, it would go right to court, is the thing. As soon as there was a large body of performers who said that, it would go right to court. But where it would probably come back to, and my knowledge of jurisprudence on this is nil.
Same as me.
But I own the copyright to my music. Period. I own it. And that's you can't take that away. A record label cannot,
Or these aren't even record labels.
No,
these
I know.
are
But that's what I'm saying.
organizations that say they represent you.
Nobody can take away, and there's plenty of precedent for that. Nobody can take away the fact that I own the copyright to my intellectual property that I created.
I think so. That is part of what we want to see.
I turn left, I turn right, I move forward, I move back, I point up, I tilt down, and I orbit all around. I roll left, I roll right, I slide left and I slide right, I raise up, lower down, and I orbit all around. I draw lines
when the winter rain comes on. No one who